wants the release of all the hostages, but he's only offering a limited humanitarian truce for up to 4 months, as we have been hearing. Ali John.
Let's see how much of what's being talked at the table actually materializes. All right, Mohammed Al-Qasim, thank you very much for that live for us from occupied East Jerusalem. The Turkish foreign minister says he expects Israel to implement measures ordered by the International Court of Justice. Hakan Fidan has also reiterated that the world shouldn't remain silent in the face of massacres carried out by Israel in Gaza.
I call on Israel to implement the International Court's preliminary measures and declare a full ceasefire immediately. Israel continues to target Gaza, which has been under blockade for weeks. Those who survived the attacks are now struggling with hunger and epidemics. Israel's blocking of humanitarian aid and medical aid to Gaza should never be accepted by the international community. We cannot remain silent as 2 million people are left to die of hunger and epidemics under bombardment. I call on the world to act to prevent this massacre.
Now, since Israel began its bombardment of Gaza, life has been made harder, not only in the besieged enclave, but also in the occupied West Bank. Israel's raids have increased exponentially at the cost of Palestinian freedom and livelihood. Our Raka Navani takes a look.
The El Shaka family has been producing traditional soap here in the Palestinian city of Nablus, one of the oldest in the world, for over 1,000 years. It's an important cultural practice for the family. But Israel is standing in the way.
The situation has greatly impacted our work, with road closures and being completely disconnected from Gaza. Frequent incursions, a high number of casualties, and shelter attacks have made people reluctant to leave their homes.
Israel's escalating violence in the occupied West Bank has pushed revenue down more than 70% since October. But that's not stopping the El Shakas, who are determined to continue their craft for their people.
The broader concern is the perceived attempt to erase any Palestinian or Arab identity, which angers many.
People here say the Palestinian cause isn't just about land, it's about traditions and a way of life. Israeli raids, according to them, threaten to disrupt all of that. And that's why they say the cultural pillars must remain, despite mounting attempts to destroy them.
In Nablus's old city are more hallmarks and attacks on them. Considered the dessert capital of Palestine, people from across the region used to flock here to try Nabulsi Kanafa, a Middle Eastern cheese pastry.
People are scared. The roads are closed. There are a lot of problems, and people don't come from outside.
Nablus is my favorite city. We used to come here and spend the night and eat kunafa. This is the first time I've come from Qalqilia to Nablus since October 7th. I'm very worried about how I'll return because of the danger.
Amid mounting arrests and killings in the occupied West Bank, which Israel says are security precautions, cultural losses may seem frivolous. However, the palpable determination to hold on to heritage in the middle of unthinkable distress is anything but. Priyanka Navani, TRT World, Nablus, occupied West Bank.
U.S. naval forces have shot down 10 Houthi drones in western Yemen, which were allegedly preparing for launch. On Wednesday, the Iranian-backed group said that it targeted a U.S. commercial vessel in the Red Sea. The Houthis claim that they do not bear any hostile intentions towards European Union countries, but will continue to target only ships linked to Israel or affiliated with Britain and America.
The Yemeni armed forces will confront the American-British escalation with escalation and will not hesitate to carry out comprehensive and effective military operations in retaliation to any British-American foolishness against beloved Yemen. The Yemeni armed forces further confirm that all American and British ships in the Red and Arabian Sea are legitimate targets for the Yemeni armed forces as long as the American-British aggression against our country continues.
The International Monetary Fund has just announced it's releasing $4.7 billion in loans to Argentina as the country's new president pushes controversial reforms. A bill from Javier Milei is right now being debated in Congress, and large crowds of protesters have clashed with police outside. They're arguing that his plans will make it even harder for many Argentinians, which are already struggling with inflation running at over 200%. Javier Milei wants dozens of changes, allowing for the deregulation of everything from media to energy companies, the easing of environmental laws, and tougher penalties for disruptive protests.
The police have no protocol. There is a security minister with the soul of a militia that only wants to see bullets, repression, blood, and tear gas. Of course, that's what she wants.
All right, for more on this, let's cross over to the Argentinian capital, Buenos Aires, and speak to Francisco Aure. Francisco, good evening to you. So this mega bill to reform the economy, politics, and even some aspects of private life is not making everyone happy.
Definitely, Alijan. Unfortunately, the replica and the first response from the crowd to this very large bill issued by the President of the Congress has been quite negative. The population was already very sensitive in the last months of the previous government, where the inflation was already really high. But the first signs of in this almost month and a half that Javier Milei has in the government, well, the first signs aren't of any kind of improvements. And this bill seems to be a way of even hardening even much more the measures that have already been that the Argentinians are suffering in terms of the consequences in the economy, with more inflation and releasing of loads of prices. So therefore the life quality has been still decreasing even more and more, and this bill is a real time bomb.
Francisco, I mean, this was already a sensitive issue for most Argentinians, as you say. By default, this is going to make Congress's job even harder. How are they dealing with it? Argentinians, as you say.
Well, the session is expected to last loads of hours. It was late into the night. It's now 1:23 a.m. in Argentina, and it's expected that it's been put on hold until tomorrow or today, Thursday already. By midday, they will resume, and they will vote in a couple of days. There are loads of congressmen that have to give their expositions, whether they are in favor or against, and it's a really tight voting in terms of the perspective and the preliminary informations that are going around off the record. It will be a very tight voting, but it's such a very significant voting for all the country that the effect will be really tough.
This marathon debate in Buenos Aires continues. Francisco Aure, thank you very much, live for us from Buenos Aires. Well, there were fireworks in the U.S. Senate on Wednesday as the CEO of some of the biggest social media companies got grilled over online dangers to children. But whether or not the U.S. government actually cracked down on those companies is an open question. Our Andy Rosejen has a look at the drama that took place on Capitol Hill.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to?
The CEOs of Meta, TikTok, Snap, Discord, and X all got grilled by U.S. senators over accusations that their platforms are far too open to dangers for children, including sexual predators, addictive features, suicides, bullying, and eating disorders. But no one faced more heat than Meta's Mark Zuckerberg.
Senator, I view my job and the job of our company as building the best tools that we can to keep our community safe.
Well, you're failing at that.
Well, Senator, we're doing an industry-leading effort. We build AI tools
nonsense. Your product is killing people.
The hearing room was packed with families who lost loved ones to suicide or were victims of eating disorders.
Will you set up a victims' compensation fund with your money, the money you made on these families sitting behind you? Yes or no?
Senator, I don't think that's my job.
Sounds like a no.
Meta has introduced some child safety features to its platforms like Facebook in the past few weeks, designed to put more online distance between kids and potential dangers. But for this bipartisan group of senators, it wasn't nearly enough. And then came this moment.
There's families of victims here today. Have you apologized to the victims? Would you like to do so now? Well, they're here. You're on national television. Would you like now to apologize to the victims who have been harmed by your product? Show them the pictures. Would you like to apologize for what you've done to these good people?
Zuckerberg said he was sorry for everything they had been through and that this is why his company has invested in making improvements. Social media companies are shielded from liability thanks to a law passed in the 1990s before social media even existed that protects free speech on the internet.
There's no commission to go to that can punish you. There's not one law in the book because you oppose everything we do, and you can't be sued. That has to stop, folks.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's bring in our Andy Rosen, who joins us now from our Washington offices. Andy, good evening to you. You know, when Senator Hawley said your product is killing people, it's kind of not difficult to actually see some of the parallels between social media and the tobacco industry. What exactly is the connection here? It's kind of not difficult to actually see some of the parallels between social
Right, they mentioned that a few times at this hearing, Alijan, that, you know, back for decades, the tobacco industry in America was considered just too big, too untouchable, like these social media companies. But all that changed in the 1990s. Congress and the courts finally stepped in and stripped tobacco companies of their liability protections. They had to pay huge amounts of money to victims of smoking, and the government stepped in with much tighter controls on them. So that's kind of the thinking here, that why can't we just do that with social media companies as well? However, it could be kind of tough because despite all that fury, Alijan, lawmakers themselves can't really seem to agree on specific privacy provisions and any possible laws they might craft, and the tech industry is still very powerful here in Washington.
Andy, when you look at Senator Hawley's questioning, especially of Mark Zuckerberg, he kept on pressing him on in terms of, did you fire anybody? How has staffing at these companies played a role? He kept on pressing him on in terms of, did you fire anybody?
Right. In fact, it just came out. One of these senators revealed that there was an email sent by a top company executive of Facebook to Mark Zuckerberg a few years ago saying, look, we need to hire dozens more people in order to make kids safer online. But apparently there was no response from Mark Zuckerberg. As we all know, they've had huge staff cuts at X as well. And, you know, Google has laid off lots of people as well. Google owns YouTube. And just yesterday, Alijan, a man in Pennsylvania beheaded, according to police, his own father. He held the head up on a video that he posted on YouTube. And that video stayed up on YouTube for about 5 hours, and it stayed up on X after that for about 7 hours. And so there's a lot of discussion here. Look, if you had more people, more staff members, they could step in immediately and keep these videos from getting posted. That's where a lot of this fury is coming from.
Okay, our Andy Rosen live for us from Washington. Thank you very much. The United Nations has expressed concern over the political situation in Myanmar as the country's military regime extends its state of emergency for another 6 months. Thursday will mark 3 years since the coup that ousted the country's democratically elected government. The junta has repeatedly extended the state of emergency due to clashes with armed opposition groups. The junta has repeatedly extended the state of emergency due to clashes with armed opposition groups. Do stay with us. The news continues here on TRT World.
When you're in the Israeli-occupied West Bank, while war rages in Gaza and tensions run high, it's sometimes easy to forget that poets and painters, artists live here too.
Hey, merhaba. Faris. Imran. Hi, Imran. I'm Sulaiman's son.
I've come to see Palestinian artist Sulaiman Mansour.
Is he working on anything right now?
From his basement studio in Ramallah, he produces pieces now coveted by galleries around the world. His voice speaks for multiple generations of Palestinians. Hey, marhaba, salam.
Salam alaikum.
Salam. Imran. Alhamdulillah. Nice to meet you, sir.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
So this is your studio?
Yes, welcome to our studio.
Thank you very much. Have you been working much? Nice to meet you, sir.
Not lately, it's very hard to come to Ramallah and to go back to Jerusalem.
So you live in East Jerusalem and you work here?
Yes, my studio is here.
Why is it very hard?
The way to go back, it takes like maybe 1 hour and a half and even more.
Because of Qalandia, the checkpoint?
Qalandia and everything, and the road. It takes like problem.
Has it become more difficult since October 7th?
And even dangerous, sometimes you see the settlers, they are very nervous and angry.
Right.
And you don't know what they can do.
Even when it comes to someone like you, like an elderly man in his car driving.
Well, you see them in Gaza,
Yeah.
They don't care, child or elderly man. They just want to revenge or something. That's how I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's very dangerous, the situation.
Well,
you don't know what they can do.
As soon as I came in, that caught my eye to the right. This massive mural. Do you want to tell me a bit about it?
Yeah, this is like telling the story.
Where does it start? Does it start chronologically?
From here.
What are those tents?
These are the Nakba, 1948. And then the revolution started, Revolution is not only shooting and so on, it's art and, all kinds of, literature and...
You have Nakba 48, you have a key, a gun, a book, a pen, a paintbrush, a dove.
Yes, all these symbols,
It's just loaded with symbols.
Symbols of the revolution in 1965 or 19 something.
Jerusalem's at the heart.
And then the occupation. And Jerusalem is an occupation, and the land is occupied. Sometimes the olive tree symbolizes the land that was occupied in 1967, and the orange tree, the land that was occupied in 1948. So it's loaded with symbolism.
Is this man you?
Yes, or my grandfather.
And it's interesting because we flow from 48 to 67, again with all of these symbols, all these symbolic images here, and I think we could spend days talking about each individual symbol. And you've got bars and imprisonment.
And this is the first Intifada.
First Intifada.
And then before Oslo, or just before Oslo, people were really hopeful that they will get free and so on. So this time.
It culminates with the flag, and there's a flag there, and it's not triumphant, but it's positive, holding the flag. Is that part of the mural yet to come? Is that a hopeful end, or what is that? Because all of these things happen, but
I reflect the ideas or the emotions of the people at that time, because I lived all this, except maybe on the Nakba. I was a little child, but I lived it all, and I remember how people felt. The people before the Oslo Agreement, they felt really.
So this ends at Oslo.
This ends before Oslo.
Before Oslo. So Oslo
is a different thing.
Right. So we'd have to go to the other walls and keep on going. So just before Oslo, there's hope of statehood, independence,
freedom. Yes.
And so now that's been 30 years. That was 30 years ago. So 30 years from then, as a Palestinian, as an artist, how would you describe this past 30 years? If not freedom, what is it?
It's despair,
Yeah. Despair.
Despair.
And do you think that despair has been the theme of your art since 1993?
Not really, but it has a lot of despair. Sometimes the artist mixes between hope and despair and anger and nostalgia. It's a mixture of all these things, but always there is this despair issue in it, always.
I notice you always have these very strong women, very dignified women, very upright, usually carrying something above their heads or in their bosoms, in their chests.
Yes.
Tell me about that. For example, here, even behind you, if we turn around over here, when we look here, these women have similar features. They're very upright.
Also here.
Yeah, they're very upright, very strong women. Why? Tell me how important that is to you.
And big hands.
Big hands.
Like working women.
Yeah.
I mean, I use women to symbolize homeland.
Very strong women,
and
dignified women, very upright, usually carrying something.
And the revolution here. So it's the woman is a symbol of Palestine.
For example, here.
So I always do it. Very beautiful woman, strong and proud, because that's how I would like to see Palestine.
Very strong women. Is that how it is, or how you would like to see it?
It's how it is in my heart, and how I would like to see it in the future.
And is it also how you would like others to see Palestine? Because Palestinians are used and abused in terms of other people's opinions.
Yes.
By supporters and enemies alike.
Yes.
So everybody wants a piece of Palestinians in terms of their own narrative. Everybody wants to define Palestinians for them. So do you feel that
everybody has his own idea about Palestine?
Yeah. So do you feel then you almost have a responsibility?
Maybe not a responsibility, but I would like to show my vision of Palestine. I don't feel responsible for anything.
And is it also how
I'm not obliged to do anything. It's just I like to do it, and it's because it's important, because very strong notion in the West and in Israel to dehumanize the Palestinians, to show that they are a little bit less than human beings or half human beings. So that's why they don't deserve to have full rights, full human rights, like freedom of movement, freedom of everything, like like being like any other people in the whole world. So I feel obliged to show the Palestinians as I see them, as I feel them.
The freedom to be human beings like everybody else.
Exactly, and we are human beings, not half human beings, or half beast, as you call us.
There's a clay artwork over here with a base of clay or mud, and I only read names here. Tell me about these names.
These are names of children who were killed in Gaza. I thought that every time when I hear the news, they say that 100 child was killed here in the school, and numbers, always numbers. So I thought these children, they have names, and they have images, they have their own life. So here I'm trying to write their names.
And I noticed their names that you've written here in pencil on this page, and of course there's space left here. I mean, it's devastating to think that this will be filled, but there'll still need to be another canvas.
Yes, yes, because this space is like it's not finished yet.
Yeah,
the counting is going on.
And after you do it, or after you embark on it, how does it feel?
After I finish it?
Or even just the fact that you see the war raging in Gaza, and now you decide this is how you're expressing your art. Tell me about the feeling. It's devastating to think that this is how what does it do to you?
I feel relieved a little bit. Yes, because before I start doing things about Gaza, I feel like a lot of depression, a lot of anger.
And after you do it,
And now I feel less anger. Not less sad, but less anger maybe.
Shall we have a cup of tea?
Yeah, please.
Yes. How do you have it?
I like coffee more than tea.
Oh, you like coffee more? Okay, so let's have coffee. Is this yours?
Yes.
Oh, it's already prepared for you. Okay, I'll get it for you. It looks strong. Do you need strong coffee?
Yeah.
Why?
I like coffee. Before I start doing things, although I have problems to sleep in the night, but
Yeah,
still.
but then you can paint, you know. The rest of us don't have the skill to do things when we can't sleep. At least you can paint. Thanks, I'll pour some tea for myself as well. Do you need me to take that spoon and put it in the sink? I can take it. Oh, you like coffee?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll take it once. Is this yours? Oh, it's already prepared. Thank you. That is strong coffee. It looks strong.
Yeah.
What?
I like coffee.
That is strong coffee.
Although I have problems.
How long have you been in this space for?
This space like 3 years.
You still miss the old, cozier, tighter one.
Of course, yeah.
Do you need me to take that spoon? At least maybe you get more visitors here.
I don't like that.
Do they disturb you?
Sometimes.
Are we disturbing you a little bit?
Not you, but many times I have visitors that they